Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Morton?
Present.
Mr. Stuchel?
Present.
Mr. Edwards?
Present.
Ms. Hausfeld?
Here.
Mr. Schuldmeyer?
Present.
Mr. Culbertson?
Present.
And Mr. Estep?
Present.
Let the record show that all 7 members are present. Members of council, what is your pleasure on the written minutes of the January 23rd council meeting? Mr. Schultmeyer.
I'll second that, Mr. President.
Motion by Mr. Schultmeyer, seconded by Ms. Hausfeld, to approve the written minutes of the January 23rd council meeting. Are there any remarks? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So ordered. Oops. All right. Then we'll move to reports of administrative officials. Mayor Stuchel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to give a brief update for the CIC after receiving a request for a town hall meeting to discuss the shopping center redevelopment project. All of the CIC meetings are open to the public and broadcasted by ICRC, just as our council meetings are. There's also a portion that is made available for citizen discussion and questions at the end of the meetings for open discussion items. So I encourage anyone who has a curiosity as to what is going on with the CIC, questions or concerns, to please come to the next regularly scheduled meeting on Tuesday, February 25th at 6 p.m. here in council chambers. Now for an update on what's happening with the shopping center. Bids for the demolition for both the old bank building and the strip mall have been received, and the low bidder was an amount of $266,000. We will be going under contract with O'Rourke Demolition once necessary ordinances are passed, and we'll be scheduling the 2-phase demolition project immediately. As you're also probably aware, there was an existing business that is in the shopping center that is still under lease, and we're actively working with a relocation specialist to find a suitable alternate location for them. This is currently delaying the demolition of the strip mall portion of the project, but if an alternate location cannot be agreed upon, we will demo right up to the smaller 3-storefront building and continue with our vision for the mixed-use development that will include residential and retail space. We are working with Civitas Development Group on this vision and in the process of securing a development and operating agreement. If you're wondering how we are paying for the demolition and site preparation of this project, the Village of St. Bernard received a Hamilton County revitalization grant in the amount of $339,000, and the St. Bernard CIC received an Ohio Department of Development Building Demolition and Site Revitalization Program grant in the amount of $456,443, so that we have been actively pursuing resources for this project. I know in the eyes of some that we're not doing anything, or we may not appear to be moving fast enough, but I will tell you there is a massive amount of planning that is going on between the CIC and the developer to bring this project into fruition. I will also tell you that there is no one more impatient than myself, and I want this project underway. Lastly, I want to make sure that everyone knows that the demolition and redevelopment does not include the building that houses Skyline and Bigby or the professional building. We hope that this project enhances the clientele for both of these dedicated businesses in our community. And lastly, I want to remind everyone again of the annual Day of Caring pancake breakfast that directly benefits the St. Clement Food Pantry on Sunday, February 23rd from 10:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. in the St. Clement School cafeteria. There'll be pancakes, mixed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've asked for an ordinance and a resolution to be discussed tonight. The first one being ordinance number 4, 2025. This is transferring $8,000 from the general fund into, and I already see the typo, into the criminal act forfeiture fund, so I will fix that. And then it also is the grant money and additional appropriation of $339,000 into Master Plan 10A for the demolition. Are there any questions on that? Okay.
Mr. President, no question, but just wanted to add to what Mrs. Brickweg had stated, that again, the appropriation ordinance for the $339,000 going directly to the demolition, and again, that is going to be reimbursed to us from Hamilton County once the funds are spent. So again, that will be made payable to us.
Yes, and then the second thing is resolution number 2, 2025. It is that time of year again that every 5 years, we have to put the levy on the ballot. We have a operating levy, a 7 mil. And I can tell you, 5 years ago, it brought in $538,250. I'm sure it'll be more because property values have gone up. I'm not asking if you're for or against the levy, that's your choice, but this is to put it on the ballot for the citizens to decide. I will add to that, that with some of our businesses leaving and this amount of money this is a very crucial levy to pass to keep the the village the way we are. So I'm asking council's permission to put it on the table. This is the first resolution. Basically, if this is voted and passed, I send this to the county. The county sends back how much money we could generate if the levy passes, and then you'll have a second resolution to vote on. This is for the August ballot, and then we will, as we have done in the past, prepare the resolution for the November if necessary. So that's what I'm asking you to put it on the table, and if there's any, and if there's any questions,
Any questions?
then I will prepare the resolution and fix the ordinance and I'll send them back out to everybody. That concludes my report.
Do I have a motion to put the ordinance and resolution on the table for the next council meeting?
Mr. President,
Mr. Schultmeyer.
I'll make a motion to put ordinance number 4, 2025, and resolution number 2, 2025 on the table.
Seconded.
Motion by Mr. Schultmeyer, seconded by Mr. Morton to place ordinance number 4 and resolution number 2, 2025 on the table. Are there any remarks? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So ordered. You said that's it then? Thank you. Law Director, Ms. Van Valkenburg.
No report.
Thank you. Treasurer, Ms. Derenkamp.
Thank you, Mr. President. As of the end of January 2025, our revenues were $767,419.21, and our expenses were $1,306,876.04. Now, as for the Star Ohio account, our total shares in there is $10,678,547.65. So that's where we stand as of now. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Safety and Service Director, Mr. Wardman.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you. As a follow-up to my report last month regarding the information that Alloy asked the village to designate 2 representatives to the Hamilton County Tax Incentive Review, I wanted to see if there are any volunteers from council to fill the slots. The commitment is limited to attendance at 1 annual meeting where the existing enterprise zone agreements and community reinvestment area agreements are reviewed for compliance. The designees has to be residents of St. Bernard and have to be approved by council. It seems to me that a member of either the Business and Industry or Finance Committee would be a logical choice if council wants to discuss that. I don't know if that would wait until after I finish my remarks or... Okay. On Tuesday, February 12th, as the mayor alluded to, we had a bid opening for the RFP for the demolition of St. Bernard Square site. We did receive 9 bids for the work, and the lowest bid came in from O'Rourke Wrecking. As a result, I'm going to be asking that legislation be passed on the table to allow the Director of Public Services and Safety to enter in a contract with the O'Rourke Wrecking Company for the demolition of the buildings located at 4901 and 4932 to 5021 Vine Street and declaring an emergency. The reason that I'm asking this to be treated as an emergency is due to the deadline that is fast approaching for the use of the grant funds that the mayor also referenced that will finance this demolition contract. As was discussed at the Finance Committee last night, I made contact with representatives for the Ohio Risk Management Program, and they will be taking over much of the village's liability insurance. The program will be a value add in that they provide public entities with risk management consulting services in addition to just insurance. And they do offer rebates on certain public safety training services that the police department already uses and the fire department has expressed an interest in using. So I think that's a win for everyone. Finally, in consultation with the mayor and Auditor Brickweg, we have put together a draft wage ordinance for temporary seasonal employees. This is required to be updated annually due to changes in the state of Ohio minimum wage statute, as well as a need to remain competitive for certain positions, such as lifeguards, that can be difficult to recruit. I would ask that an ordinance be placed on the table and treated as an emergency to assist with the recruitment of summer seasonal positions. I don't have that with me at the moment, but I assume that would be ordinance number 5. And I believe that should be the end of my comments for the night. Thank you.
All right, so first of all, do we get any volunteers?
Mr. President, I would say, yeah, I'm happy to volunteer, of course, pending that one annual meeting. I don't have anything immovable where I could make it, but I mean, if anyone would like to be a backup, let me know.
That makes our 2 then?
Yes, and as long as I don't need anything formal, as long as council is fine with that, I will report back that it will be Auditor Brickwig and Councilmember Morton.
That'll be fine. That's pretty much in the record since you've said it now. All right, then I will entertain a motion to place ordinance number 3 and ordinance number 5 on the table.
Mr. President,
Oh, Ms. Morton.
I just had one question about ordinance number 3, and I think I might already know the answer to this. I noticed that the amount on ordinance 3 is $266 associated with the demo, but the amount in ordinance number 4 is $339. Is that because the difference is covering costs that are going to be associated with other folks other than O'Rourke Wrecking Company?
Yeah, so the grant, and the mayor can certainly chime in if he has additional information, but the grant that we received from Hamilton County is a reimbursable grant that can be used for eligible expenses. The $266,000 bid is only for the buildings. There is additional demolition that will need to be done, including parking lot demolition, site prep work, that kind of stuff that has not yet been bid, and will require additional funding. So in accordance with whatever the terms of that grant from Hamilton County are, there's more funds that can be available to use for advancing the project as a whole.
Okay, thank you. That makes perfect sense. So I guess with that, I'll motion to put ordinance number 3, 2025, and ordinance number 5, 2025 on the table for the next council meeting.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. Morton, seconded by Mr. Culbertson to place ordinances 3 and 5, 2025 on the table. Any other remarks? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So ordered. That's it then, Tim? Oh, good. All right. Thank you. Tax Administrator, Ms. Helms.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have the Tax Department's January 2025 end-of-month receipts. Tax collection for January was $648,798. January 2025 is down 4.7%, or $31,987 from January 2024. Refunds for January were $2,011. Delinquent tax collected with capital recovery was $1,054. Delinquent tax collected with the Ohio Attorney General's office was $3,720. And just a couple reminders, we do have mandatory tax filing. The 2024 tax returns for St. Bernard are due April 15th, 2025. All returns must be signed and have documentation attached to them. This includes W-2s, page 1 through 3 of your federal tax return, and any federal schedules if you have them. Tax returns are not complete and cannot be audited without this documentation. Also, please visit the St. Bernard website for access to the easy-to-use e-file system. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. We'll move to reports of standing committees. Finance, Mr. Morton.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Finance Committee met last night to discuss vacation payout policies and an alternate insurance option before our renewal. I want to say thank you to our Safety Service Director, Tim Wordman, for bringing these topics to the committee, and to the many other folks that were also there in attendance to contribute to our conversation. The committee unanimously agreed to advance both of these proposals. The minutes have also been shared with committee members for review and will be submitted next week. The next Finance Committee meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, March 19th at 6 p.m. in City Hall. That concludes my report as it pertains to the Finance Committee, but I would like to open discussion on the advancement of energy aggregation via the Ohio Energy Alliance, our presenter from last month. As a reminder, the first stage of this process where I'd like to get approval is just to put certification on the ballot. So even when this gets on the ballot, the public electorate could still vote no and deny this. And if it's passed on the ballot, we still have another opportunity to not advance it if the bids come back more expensive than what folks are already paying through Duke. So in other words, I'm just seeking approval to put this decision in the hands of our residents and then to later be again reviewed by council in, I guess, that November, December timeframe after the general election. So with that, I just would like to open up the discussion to see where council stands on it, so that Valerie doesn't have to put together a resolution without getting our approval first.
Any comments, council?
Mr. President,
Mr. Culbertson?
I have zero doubt. I'm all for putting it up for the voters. I have no issue with it.
Anyone else?
Same here.
Okay.
Mr. President, I would also agree it can go on the ballot.
Okay. Sounds like we can prepare a resolution.
I will work on that, yes.
I'll place it on here then. All right. Anything else under finance?
That concludes my
Good.
report.
All right. Thank you. Service, Mr. Gus Stuchel.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Service Department will be closed on Monday, February 17th in observance of President's Day. There will be no trash collection next Monday. Next week's trash collection will be as follows. Monday pickups will move to Tuesday. Tuesday pickups will move to Wednesday. Thursday and Friday collections will remain unchanged. As a reminder, please mark your calendars for the following events. Cleanup St. Bernard Day will be held on Saturday, April 26th, and our next Shred Day will be held on Saturday, May 24th, down at the Safety Center from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And lastly, the Service Department is now accepting applications for seasonal employment. Applicants must be at least 16 years old and hold a valid driver's license. Forms are available for pickup at City Hall. As a former seasonal employee, I highly recommend this opportunity. It provides valuable hands-on experience in general labor while contributing to the upkeep and prosperity of St. Bernard as a great place to live. Thank you. That concludes the end of my report.
Thank you. Public improvements, Mr. Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. President. Last night, February 12th, the Public Improvement Committee meeting met concerning road projects planned this year for Langley and Greenlee Avenues. The meeting was attended by several residents as well as the committee members, the mayor, the auditor, safety service director, president of council, and Jim Godey from JMA, the company that's doing the project. It was a very good meeting with great input from our residents. Mr. Godey answered all the questions that everyone had. The meeting did primarily focus on Langley Avenue, but a few concerns were voiced by our citizens regarding Greenlee Avenue. I would like to thank everyone who came to the meeting. Their attendance made the meeting very productive. The minutes of this meeting have been submitted to the clerk of the village for review by the public. Thank you, Mr. President. This concludes my report.
Thank you. Just for the record, I think it's John Goody, not Jim, right? It's John Goody. Safety, Ms. Houseville.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Laws, contracts, and claims, Mr. Schultmeyer.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Marketing, Mr. Culbertson.
Thanks, Mr. President. The next St. Bernard Ludlow Grove Historical Society program will take place on Monday, February 17th at 7 p.m. The topic is Presidents in Our Past, presented by Peter Bronson. The Rec Department is now accepting applications for summer employment at the Aquatic Center. They are desperately in need of lifeguards. The German Luau Committee is looking for new members. If you would like to get involved, please email the Recreation Department at recreation@cityofstbernard.org. This year's luau will take place on Friday, August 1st and Saturday, August 2nd. Lastly, I would like to welcome Keith Geraci to the recreation staff. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Business and industry, Mr. Estep.
No report.
Thank you. This time, is there anyone in the audience wishing to address council this evening? If not, we were talking before the meeting. The next council meeting is scheduled for Thursday, February 27th. We are going to have 2 members missing. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to move that council meeting to next Thursday, February 20th at 7 p.m.
Mr. President,
Mr. Schultmeyer.
I'll make a motion to move the meeting to Thursday, February 20th.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Schultmeyer, second by Mr. Estep to move the February council meeting from the 27th to the 20th. Are there any other remarks?
Yes, Mr. President.
Anderson.
I know some of you guys heard me afterwards. I don't know if I have coverage for my mom. I do have coverage on the 27th, and I'm just letting it out there because I know we only have so many meetings we're allowed to miss, whatever. I don't think it's fair to those of us that show up to every scheduled meeting, and then you guys rearrange the meetings to accommodate one or two or whatever. And I understand things have to be passed, but I don't think that those of us that are here should be held accountable with what that ordinance that you guys passed late last year. So I'm just publicly putting it out there. I don't know if I'm going to be here or not. I may not, but I am going to definitely voice my opinion about, I don't think it should be held accountable to us that are here on our regular scheduled meetings when you guys rearrange the meetings to accommodate certain people.
Mr.
Thank you.
President?
Mr. Morton?
Yeah, so that attendance ordinance that we passed last year specifies the difference between excused and unexcused, and I also would have to miss the meeting if it's moved to the 20th, so I can relate to that. I would hope that our fellow council members would be understanding that we can't adapt our schedule sometimes with a week's notice like this, and that they would excuse our absences, if that's the case.
As was discussed earlier, we were discussing with the law director, the ordinance specifies regularly scheduled meetings. Obviously, next week is not, we knew you were gonna be missing, but with two people missing, you can't suspend with any second or third reading and pass the ordinances that we need to get passed in order for the demolition and everything else to take hold. So if Ms. Housewood isn't here next week, that will not go against her. That's our kind of feeling with discussing it earlier. But if by chance she is not here and two people are missing, we still have to have a special meeting anyway. Why wait a whole nother week till the 27th? This just kind of moves things along. If we get its first reading, then we could adjust accordingly, so. Any other comments then on moving it? I forget. So there was a motion by Mr. Schultmeyer, seconded by Mr. Estep to move the meeting. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? So ordered. And we'll kind of go from there. If by chance you can't get coverage, we'll see where we go from there. All right, then I show for next week, 2 resolutions will be on the table and 3 ordinances will be on the table. And with that, I will entertain a motion to.
Mr. President.
Ms. Houseville.
If you did send out an ordinance, Tim, on the summer wages, I know you guys just discussed it last night, can we get that before the meeting next week?
Yes, I'm sorry, I started shaking my head because I thought you were asking if I had already sent it out. No, I have not sent it out, but yes, I will endeavor to get that out. I have a draft, so I can probably get it out as soon as tomorrow.
Thank you, sir.
All right, with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. President,
Mr. Culbertson.
make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Culbertson, second by Mr. Estep to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? So ordered.